Hi, I'm Carol Haycox from FMM, and I'm going to show you how to put a poinsettia together. I start with the stamens. I use a tiny piece of green, as tiny as this, flour paste, make it into a ball and then make it into a tiny cone. I take a 28 gauge wire with a tiny hook in it, dip it into your glue and insert into the pointed end of your teardrop or cone onto your wire. I'm just squeezing around the bottom to make sure it's stuck, and then flatten the top, turn, flatten, flatten. I then take a tiny little sharp scissors and I just cut the top. Now you can paint this with red dust colour on the top, and just on the very edge of this is the tedious bit. You take a tiny piece of yellow, and what we're looking for is really like a tiny coffee bean shape. So we're going to put it like so, and I'll put it on the red pad so you can see how tiny. I'm actually going to just take that, cut that in half, because that's how tiny we need our piece. Put a piece of glue on the edge of here, just on the side there. I'm going to touch it onto the yellow, like so, and then take one of your tools and touch to get that coffee bean effect down the center of it. When these are dry, I usually make around 9 of these. Take one, take a little tape, and start your tape down a little further on the wire, like so. Like so. 1 and 2, 3. You want these nice and tight together so they're all prepared for when you bring your petals in. And just pull the bottom, 2 and 3. There we are, pull together. Now it is best leave these to dry. I can't stress enough. Leave to dry for at least 12 hours, if not 24. Okay, so we pop those on the side there, and then we'll work on how I do the petals for the actual flower. On the table here, I've got all my cutters lined up. Now I always line my cutters for this flower. I have from the largest to the smallest. Each one of these I'm going to cut 3 petals out of. So when I finish cutting, I turn the cutter over, so that I've done 3 of those. I'll line them up, then 3, I'll turn the cutter over. So in the case I'm going to do now, I'm just going to show you one of each. So I'll take my red, prepare it on your board. Now I like to use, for speed, a ridged board. If you haven't got one of these, just do a ridge down the center of your paste to take your wire. Roll like so, and like so, and then down to the bottom. I'm really looking to make sure that it is going to fit the cutter I've got, because they go from very large to very small. Now we've got, turn it over, you're able to see the ridges. Now again, if your paste is a little on the sticky side, always pick up, put a little corn flour underneath, so that when you're going to cut with your cutters, this moves. Okay, you can see the ridges there, I hope. Take your cutter. Now there's a squared end on your cutter, so you can see that goes to the fatter end of your piece of paste. Onto there and cut. And you can see what I mean about moving around all the time. And it's so your paste comes out nice and clean out of your cutter. When I've done 3 of those, turn it over. Do the next one. Do 3 of those. And turn it over. And you keep working till you get to the very end. And again, although this shape, when you look at it, you have your cutting end there. Your actual center is going to go up the center of this, like so. So when you bring it onto your piece of paste, just lay it down and let it naturally take the shape for you. And you can see where the little center comes down, that piece of paste, that petal. Okay, so we've got 3 petals here. I think that might be enough to show you. Okay, I've got some wires here. When I wire my petals, little corn flour on your fingers, pick your petal up onto the very tip of your finger, and I also use my thumb to help me to know exactly where my wire is going. I've dipped it into glue, and now I'm going to insert it in, and if you see what I'm doing, I'm just twisting it in, and it's up to there now. So this will go on my former pad. Now put your vein down when you put it on your former pad. Wire, make sure your wires are kept stress-free, no bends. Into there and twist. When you've got, like I normally do, 3 at a time of all the same size, now I'm going to take my veining mat. Onto the veining mat, just line up the point to the point, like so, but do it at the top half. Pull it up, hold the end of the petal and just take it away. That way, if it does a little bit sticky, it won't get stuck on your pad. Lift, hold and pull on the side. Now the next thing I'm going to do, turn it over. Turn it over. I'm going to take my bone tool. I'm going to always work from the tip, from the wire to the tip. Don't hold your wire. So be aware, take your hand away from it, like so. Allow the paste to move freely. You'll get a better curve in it. But if you hold your wire, it can loosen it inside your petal. And then, when you're going to try and put your flower together, of course, it will be too loose for you. When I've got all of these ready, I lie them all out to make sure that they dry off. Okay, so I have 1 of each size here, as you can see. Like so. Okay, when I get my stamens back and my little piece of tape, I like to do my tape quite fine. Start your tape on here. Don't go right into the neck, just come down a little. When you pick up each petal, just put your nail like so, put that on your finger and press so that your petal turns out where it's just bent back slightly. And you're going to bring these in 1 at a time, tape. Every one you pick up, you bend and bring it in. Now, what I'm looking for here is that all of these petals, this layer, so it's just 1, 1, 1 from each size, but they all stay around about the same side. And you'll see exactly as I'm bringing it together what I mean by this. You're not bringing them around the wire, you're just keeping them on one side. Make sure your vein is showing. And you'll notice I'm not being fussy with exactly where the petal sits as it sits into here. As long as they're all on one side. Don't let them come down the wire too much, because otherwise you'll have them where the whole flower is not sitting together. And there's the last one going in. Okay, I'm going to bring that on. Bring the tape down. Don't bring it down too far. And you've got 1, 2, 3 pieces done. These 3 pieces then get picked and put together. So you put them together, you have a look at them, you then decide, okay, that sits nicely. And now the 3rd one, you bring that in, and don't be afraid to push at it, and that sits nicely. Now you're going to tape them all together on the bottom, so I'm squishing really tight in here. Bring the tape on again, start a little down the wire, then work with your tape up the wire. So you're working up and then back down again until you've got all your wire taped. Now make sure your flowers are dry before you attempt what I'm about to do. So you take from in here where the wire is and start moving, and you can move your petals then around until you're happy with the whole outlook of your flower.